Hello my gorgeous peeps, this is Chris from Combo and I'm here with Huawei's new P20 Lite, one of the 3 new P20 handsets freshly launched here in the UK. Now we've fully featured the standard P20 and the P20 Pro, which of course have got all the headlines for the fact that they've got some really nice premium features in there, including obviously the 3-lens camera for the Pro model. The P20 Lite's been kind of buried away a little bit more. You'll struggle to find any coverage on it whatsoever, but it is actually available in the UK right now, £329 SIM free, or you can also pick it up from Vodafone, who kindly sent this in, so cheers guys, love it very much. And it's £30 a month with 16 gigabytes of data and unlimited calls and text, so it seems a lot better in terms of affordability than the standard P20 and the P20 Pro. But let's actually get it unboxed, check out some of the features and everything, and sort of see what you can expect if you decide to pick up the phone itself. So there is the handset. We'll just put that aside for now, just check out what's in the rest of the box, and then we'll fully focus on that bad boy. So of course you get your little pokey pin device in order to get the tray open to stick your SIM card and such forth in. And inside it's the usual goodies, no real surprise whatsoever. You get your adapter plug. Of course it'll be a 3-pin adapter. Here in the UK it's just a 2-pin because it's a review sample. You get your dinky little USB cable. It is actually USB Type-C, which is always good to see on a budget handset, so lovely stuff there. And Huawei is very kindly bundled at what looks like pretty much the same style of in-ear hard shell headphones that you can use to rock in there. But of course I'm guessing, I know it does actually have a headphone jack in the Lite version. I did not know that. There you go, you've got a headphone jack 3.5mm in the Lite version, which is missing from the standard P20 and the P20 Pro. So as you can see, there is actually a 3.5mm set earphones as well. Bonanza. Right, okay, so that's just one of many differences, as we'll see as we set up the handset and have a bit of an explore. Let's just see first of all if it's got any gas in the tank. Yep, rumble rumble, great stuff. So as you can see, it's a similar sort of design to the standard P20 and the P20 Pro. I've actually got the standard P20 here. This is the lovely gradient style finish, the sort of rose pink model of the standard P20, which of course it just the colours change as you tilt it, as it catches the light. Sadly you don't get that on the standard P20 Lite, but you can pick it up in a number of different colours. This is the midnight black version, which unfortunately isn't very exciting on camera, but you can also pick it up in Sakura pink, very cool name, platinum gold, very very funky, and Klein blue, Klein as in the German for small. Not really sure what that's all about. But those are the different finishes you can pick it up in. It's significantly lighter than the standard P20 and the P20 Pro, even though it's basically the same size as the P20, which is quite interesting. It's a 5.84 compared to a, I believe it's 5.9? Sorry, my brain is so full of specs at the moment that I apologise if I talk at any point in this. But yeah, this is definitely significantly light, 145 grams. So you can really feel the difference. It feels nice and light, but not toy-like or anything. I wouldn't say it feels like a budget handset. It certainly feels alright. And as you can see, of course, you've got the same sort of finish as well in terms of the screen stretches pretty much up to the top of the phone. You've got this sort of notch style design that you've got on the likes of the iPhone 10 as well, which holds the speaker grill and also the front facing selfie camera. And then it stretches quite close to the left and right edges, slightly chunkier bezels surrounding the screen there. And then down below, you've just got the Huawei branding. You don't have a fingerprint sensor down below like you got on the other handsets, the standard P20 and P20 Pro. It's actually around here on the back, as you can see right there, which we actually prefer personally. We prefer the old rear mounted fingerprint sensor. It's just a bit more comfortable to use. Your finger naturally falls onto it as you're picking it up, rather than having to sort of like awkwardly reach down here or any of that. So we've just got to do the usual yes I agree to all etc gubbins before we can get all set up. As you can see, the rear mounted camera lens pokes ever so slightly from the surface, again same as on the standard P20 and P20 Pro, but not to any kind of worrying degree. And of course it's not Leica branded, unlike on the P20 and P20 Pro, so you get a good bit of Leica naming on there. It's so it's obviously not done in collaboration with Leica, or Leica didn't want to own up to it at the very least, but it is a dual lens snapper, and we'll be covering that in a jiffy once we get through all the rest of the setup. There we go, all connected. That was quick and painless, always good. So just usual checking for updates. It's worth mentioning, of course, that it is a glass and metal handset as well, the same as the P20 and the P20 Pro. Probably not made of quite such premium materials, unfortunately, but it does have a nice shiny sheen, as you can see there on the back. The midnight black model doesn't seem to pick up scuffs, it seems to hide the scuffs, rather, a bit better than some of the lighter models, but it does still get a little bit smudgy, and it's got a nice bit of metal banding around the edge in there, just to help break up that glass finish. And unfortunately it's not water resistant, unlike the P20 Pro, and I don't think it's even drip resistant like the standard P20, so you'll not want to get this bad boy moist. You can, as you can see there, use Huawei's data transfer effort in order to move over from an Android phone, an iPhone, or another Huawei device. So if you just want to get all of your apps and messages and all that kind of stuff set up, that's all good. Fingerprint touch control, of course, you can get that set up in a jiffy, so let's just do that now. So as you can see there, just needs to start tapping away at the fingerprint sensor, and that will get it all pleasantly set up. Should be a pretty quick and simple, there we go, quick and simple task. And there we have it, we are into a motion UI. So first of all, let's just give that fingerprint sensor a quick test, so a quick tap now. And nice swift responsive action there, put it straight into the desktops. Hopefully should prove nice and accurate as well, and certainly feels comfortable to use, that's all good. So a little bit about Emotion UI. If you've seen any of our other Huawei coverage, you'll know about this extensively already. If you just dive into the system, it's Emotion UI 8.0.0 on this bad boy, on top of Android Oreo 8.0.0, nice and uniform there. So that adds quite a few little bonus extra features, changes up the general look and feel of Android. So for instance, if you dive into the settings, you get some more customization options. Go to display, for instance, you've got a few little bits. You can actually change the home screen style, which is always a good idea to get that apps tray back. If you go into the Smart Assistant section, you've got the likes of the one-handed mode, you've got voice controls, which is really good if you're driving a car. So for that one-handed mode, you've got to swipe across the navigation dock, and you get this nice minimized display, and you can still fully use all of your apps and everything as well. So that's all grand. Great stuff. So plenty of little bonus stuff tucked away in there as well. If you go back to About Phone, you'll see that it is running a Kirin 659 processor with 4 gigs of memory. So it should be sort of reasonably nippy. It's a mid-range chipset basically, so you'll probably see the odd stutter and stammer we usually do with these things, but hopefully latest games and everything should run alright, and looks like apps sort of load up pretty quick, so that's all good. Just a slight delay, nothing too troublesome. Again, the kind of stuff you'd expect from a sort of a £300 smartphone. You're not exactly going to be getting that same premium performance. I mean, to be honest, the standard P20 and the P20 Pro were a little bit stuttery here and there as well, down to software issues basically. So we'd be surprised if there weren't some on the P20 Lite as well. But stay tuned for an in-depth discussion on all that. We'll certainly be covering it in full in our in-depth review. And of course, this wouldn't be a Huawei handset without bloody loads of apps packed on there as well. So as you can see, you've got all your standard Google stuff and everything tucked away in there, and also lots of Huawei's first-party stuff as well. Just diving into tools, you get loads of random junk in there, whether voice recorders, torch, which just turns on the flash basically, mirror, which just turns on the selfie camera, phone clone, which is actually quite helpful for backing up all your data and everything, and the SIM toolkits and everything as well. So there's loads of stuff on there, lots of stuff to help you maintain the phone. One of our favorites is Phone Manager. That's actually pretty useful. You can just quickly clean up the memory, for instance, check how much mobile data you've used. You can block some numbers if there's get any of those PPI spammers. God damn you! You can get rid of those, virus scanner and all that kind of junk as well. So you've actually got some decent little stuff in there. Tips if you've never used a Huawei phone before. They will be providing a full tips and tricks guide of our own, so stay tuned for that. And the likes of the Games Suite, which just gathers all your games and allows you to get some more on the go. And of course, good old health. If you're a casual fitness enthusiast, to track how many steps you manage to trot around every day. Let's actually boost up that screen brightness a bit so we can see it a bit more clearly. So it's a 5.84-inch LTPS display. Certainly from initial impressions, seems like perfectly fine for a budget display. If we dive into the settings and go to the display section, you'll see you've got slightly less options in there than you do on the likes of the P20. You don't have, for instance, the natural tone mode, which just changes the actual warmth of the colours depending on your ambient conditions, the environmental conditions around you. Let's just boost this up as well because it's a pain when it's always hibernating. But you do get the likes of the colour mode where you can fiddle around with the warmth yourself. Let's just put it back to the default so it's not in any weird setting. And you get the eye comfort mode as well, which basically just filters the blue light, gives some nice warm comfortable display if it's when it's late at night. It just makes it a bit more comfortable on the eye, so that's always good. And of course, it's a stretched 18.7:9 aspect ratio display as well. So as you can see, you can get full screen mode on the go if there's any apps that don't quite stretch the whole distance. And then it just sort of zooms in a little bit, expands it, and gets it to fill the full thing. And because it's that stretched 18.7:9 aspect ratio, means like Netflix, you'll get very little letterboxing, so it'll be well good for your media in it. And just like the standard P20 and P20 Pro, it's a Full HD Plus resolution display as well, so images should be nice and crisp. If we just get in here nice and close, yeah, you'll definitely be struggling to notice any individual pixels on that bad boy. It's looking nice and sharp. Colours aren't impressively punchy, again, just from initial sort of thoughts, but it should be, again, absolutely fine. If you just want something to browse the web, you know, watch a bit of YouTube, stuff like that, it looks absolutely fine to me, to be honest. And if we boost it all the way up to maximum brightness, it's not going to win any awards, but should hopefully be alright. And see, kind of struggle a little bit with reflections on it, but it should be fine for general outdoor use as well. As you can see, in traditional EMUI style, you've got all your apps thrust there right on the desktop. So I'm going to change that straight away as well, because I can't stand it. If we go into display, thankfully there is an option to quickly bring back the apps drawer, which is fantastic, because you never used to have that on the old school EMUI. You kids don't know what you missed out on, really. So now, as you can see, we've got the apps tray back, all your apps thrust away in there. And then you can just keep your desktops nice and tidy, get rid of all this clutter. So I'll be deleting all of that off, sticking on some widgets and such forth. And as for the storage, let's dive into that as well. As you can see there, 64 gigs of storage. The vast majority of it is thankfully available. It looks like EMUI hasn't taken up too much of that valuable space. But the good thing as well about the Lite model is it does actually support micro SD memory cards via the handy little dinky edge-mounted tray there. So while the P20 and the P20 Pro, you could only stick 2 SIM cards in, this one you've got a choice. You can either stick in 2 SIM cards, or you can stick in a micro SD memory card of up to 256 gigs. So you can actually expand it to give it more storage than the more expensive models, which is quite funky. And very briefly, I'll just mention the battery as well. So the great thing about the P20 and the P20 Pro is they've got really good battery life, especially the Pro model with a mighty 4,000 milliamp cell packed inside. The P20 Lite, not quite so good. It's got a 3,000 milliamp. Of course, how that translates into battery life, I will let you know in a few days once I've been rocking it as my full-time personal handset. So stay tuned for that. But as you can see, you've got the usual options such as power saving mode, ultra power saving mode available. If you want to fiddle about with that, you can optimize the battery just by, again, clearing some of the apps that are sucking juice in the background, all that kind of stuff. So there's quite a few little options there that you can play around with, and I'm just going to get it turned on so you can actually display the battery life up at the top as well. Oh, just a sip of coffee. Sorry, I'm absolutely dying for caffeine today. Which brings us nicely onto the camera tech. So, as mentioned before, of course, it doesn't have any of the Leica branding like the standard P20 or P20 Pro, but it is still a dual lens snap. It's a 16 megapixel primary lens, f2.2, backed up by a secondary 2 megapixel lens, which I believe is f2.4. So it's definitely a stripped back camera. As you can actually see here, if you've seen our P20 and P20 Pro camera coverage, it's a different camera app. You can actually, it's more of an iPhone style camera app, whereas this is the traditional Huawei camera app. So that's quite nice to see. We do like the traditional camera app. As you see, you've got a number of little shortcuts here on this side. So for instance, you can turn on the portrait mode with just a quick tap. Here we go, Mr. Teddy. Thanks for being a volunteer. So taking a photo of Mr. Teddy with the portrait mode on, it'll just add a nice little bokeh effect. And as you can see, you can get your beautify on the go. So Teddy, you're looking a bit rough, mate. We're going to have to boost that beauty level all the way up to 10. There we go. And then take a nice little snap. And hopefully that should come out looking nice and crisp. You've also got the likes of your wide aperture modes, which is a similar sort of thing to portrait mode, except without the beautification, basically. So not really much point in that. But you've also got your moving picture option, which basically just shoots a little sort of video snippet, I guess, with every photo that you take, and then it just sort of animates your gallery as you're flipping around. It's quite nice if you've got lots of pictures of kids or cats or whatever in there. It brings your gallery to life. And of course, you can swap to video at any point and shoot up to full HD video. So there's no 4K option, sadly, or full HD 60 frames per second either. If we dive into the settings, you see here, tops off at full HD, 1080p at just 30 frames per second. So if you want to shoot 4K home movies for whatever reason, you're going to have to upgrade to a different one, unfortunately. You do get the likes of object tracking, built-in image stabilization, although it's just your standard digital image stabilization. I don't believe it's got the AIS that you get on the P20 and the P20 Pro. You can just tap out of that with a quick tap there, and then a flip this direction shows you've got various camera modes. Quite a lot of camera modes, as you usually expect from good old Huawei. For instance, you've got your Pro mode, so that's quite good if you know exactly what you're doing. You can shoot raw images in this mode as well, which I believe if we flip this way, yep, there you go, raw format. You can activate that with a quick tap there. Nice and easy. So that's just good for getting easily editable, high resolution photos that you can piddle about with on the go. Very nice stuff indeed. And if we get rid of Pro Photo mode, have a flip this way again. As you can see, you've got HDR mode, doesn't really seem to do anything. Pro Video as well, so you've got Pro controls for shooting video. Night shot, just basically longer exposure and everything. Light paint and similar sort of thing. Time lapse, you can do a few different video modes as well, slow mo and time lapse, although you don't have the super slow motion 960 frames per second like you do get on the P20 and the P20 Pro. So as you can see, a few little different camera modes to play around with, and there's also a 16 megapixel f2.0 front facing lens for your sexy selfies. And that in a nutshell is the Huawei P20 Lite. A lot more affordable than the standard P20 and P20 Pro at 329 quid. Seems to have some pretty decent features. It's good that you've got the actual similar sort of design work to the P20 and the P20 Pro. You've also got some bonuses such as the micro SD memory card support, which you don't get on the more expensive models, so that's quite cool. Interested to see how the performance, the battery life and everything plays out, so stay tuned for our full reviews of that. Give us a like and a subscribe and ding that notifications bell, and you will be the first to see when our P20 Lite review goes up. So big thanks for watching everyone, love you, bye!